Welcome, everyone. It is a crazy time. The amount of money being raised in comics is insane. Things going on in the world are insane. As of 2025, the comic category alone on Kickstarter has raised $274 million. So you can make money making comics. Unfortunately, not every comic campaign is successful. In fact, only 42% of all comic campaigns succeed. So we are learning what makes it work, and we want to share that knowledge and pass that knowledge on to you.
On today's show, we're going to help some comic creators reach their goals. Destiny will choose 3 indie campaigns for us to review. After offering tips and our take, we will choose one to back and support. Stay to the end, see who will choose, see if you agree. This is a comic book showdown of Ultimate Destiny, because in the end, there can be only one.
Yes, I still love that intro. And you do it so well, my man.
Thank you. It's almost like I do this for a living.
Man, like I said, this is gonna be a good show, guys. It's a crazy time. And the question of the day is crowdfunding the hero that comics need?
I'm gonna go with you. And I agree that this is the future of comics. With Diamond distributor, however you want to look at it, basically about to close its doors. This is the second time that Diamond has declared bankruptcy. So the writing is on the wall. I'm sure Steve has already sold everything that he could, and he's already absconded to Pango and is enjoying his beachfront property there. He's out. See you, bitches.
Yes. So
I don't know what this means to us, to the collectors, the stores, because
the stores, they're the ones that get a hit. Yes.
And let's face it, and we've talked about this. One of the most expensive things about crowdfunding and all of what we do is shipping, and taking that into account, because we have talked to people who have funded that didn't even consider the shipping costs. So you have shops like, for instance, Joey Bag of Donuts comic shop down the street. We're not going to throw any things. No names. No finger pointing. They don't know what they're going to do. Penguin does all of the DC distribution. I think Dynamite's jumped in with that. Boom Studios is gone. How Dark Horse has survived with Hellboy as its basic, main IP. They've got to be circling the drain. And now seeing this in front of them, they can't be too happy. And Marvel almost went bankrupt doing direct shipping once before. So Toy Biz had to save them. So I don't know, dude. I don't know.
So yeah, in case you guys, we're going to touch on a little bit of the history, but for those of you that have just been doing indie comics and aren't familiar, Diamond, back in the 90s, they kind of bought up the few distributors that were left and became one of the sole distributors. And there was sort of a boom in the 90s that almost a lot of distributors closed. That's when Diamond kind of monopolized and bought them all up. And basically it made every single comic shop in the country reliant on that one distributor. So if they fail, if something goes wrong, it affects every single comic shop. And I was saying to Smurf before the show, like, it feels a lot like, a franchise, like they're the McDonald's or the Taco Bell, and all these comic shops are just franchisees. And so when it goes down, they go down with the ship kind of thing.
And that was like one of the things in the early 90s, because Steve had his own retail outlet. So that was kind of like a thing that all of us shops at the time, because that's when I had my shop, was like 91 and for the next 4 or 5 years. So that was like one of the things of like, it seems sketch. Mm-hmm. So he's doing all these exclusives for his shop and leaving the rest of the guys out in the cold. So I think he's a victim of his own success, though, is the problem.
Right.
It's the problem. He did too good of a job.
Right. Yeah. So the question is, we got different people being affected. Like you said, we've got the shop owners, and I think some shop owners are probably a little worried right now. And then you've got the independent comic creators like myself and a lot of the people watching today. And like we have already been kind of on our own for a while. Some people that I know in the indie scene have managed to get their comic picked up by a slightly larger publisher, but they were still going through Diamond, and so that might be affected. But for the most part, most of us are direct distribution, where meaning that like someone buys our comic and we send it directly to them, directly to the consumer through Kickstarter or through our websites. And I think that we're going to start seeing more and more of that. I think you're going to see a boom on crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter and all these other places. And so we've already seen it, right? Smurf said, you know, we had the G.I. Joe books and the Transformers books, and there was was it Thundercats, I think, and there was a bunch of others too. This in the last 2 years, these big companies, and so what that means for us as independent creators on the platforms is that we're really going to have to step up our game in like standing out, because it's just a matter of like which one looks more appealing to a consumer that doesn't know, you know, one from the other. They have the money to make a fancy video, but that doesn't mean it's always going to be good. You know,
all flash and no substance. And
right?
because the GI Joe, the collected GI Joe is a perfect example of just them dominating, because it's a recognizable IP, and it also is pulling on the nostalgia heartstrings. Same thing with the Thundercats one that's going on right now. And I was talking to Matt, I'm surprised that there hasn't been a Transformers one. And I think it may be just because so many other publishers have had the licensing that it probably gets a little muddied with that. And then you've got, you know, like I said, the Turtles is probably the only thing that's helping IDW right now, because they're doing the Ronin series. And so finally they got wise and took the Turtles forward instead of just constantly resetting that story, which I think was a long time in coming. But and Image is the only one that I don't know what they're going to do. Image is the dark horse in this one. So I don't know what they're going to do. That's the question. But if the comic book retailers, if like for Image, let's just say Image is smart, they would extend a hand and offer like a distribution option to creators here. I think that would make sense to me. And
yeah.
There's Dean.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that, like you said, some of these companies, we were talking about this earlier, you know, like most of these publishers, Dynamite stuff, they have a store online where you can go buy their comics directly and order them and have them shipped directly to you. I think that Kickstarter is just going to be an extension of that, where not only are like if you got like Red Sonja was the example I was using, where like you might have a new Red Sonja book coming out that you can back and support, but then in the add-on section are going to be like tons and tons and tons of other Red Sonja and any other titles that they might have, and it's just going to be an opportunity to buy a bunch of books from them under one shipping cost. So
well, and I think we're going to see, and I'm kicking myself for having to say this, but I think we're going to see another resurgence in digital comics, another boost to that as prices and costs start to skyrocket. So
yeah,
I can see that's on the horizon. That's not far off, actually, if I was a betting man.
Right. Now, I do continue to stand behind the idea here that as independent creators, one of the things that we have as an advantage over those companies is the personalization, right?
Mm-hmm.
You never see the except for I want to say Brian Pulido and Lady Death, right? They're pretty big as far as indie comics go. But like, you never see like Dynamite or anybody from Antarctic on a video saying, "Hey guys, I'm really passionate about this book that I made, and I can't wait to get it in your hands." Right? That's the advantage that we have, is that like we're there, we're the creators, so like
We're in the
use that.
trenches.
Yeah, use that. Now, as we've said before on this show, if you're gonna do it, be excited
right.
about it, be enthusiastic
Yes.
about it, and if you can't. If you're the type of person that can't be enthusiastic on camera, then get someone else to voice over it for you or something, and just stand there smiling, you know. But yeah, I think that personal touch is going to be a key factor in getting us, you know, out and separated from them. Speaking of Jay, we were just talking about Jay.
That's Jay. JP, what's up? We were just talking about him too, actually, because we were reminiscing about Denver Comic Con of yore. We were talking with a couple of the co-founders the other night, the former co-founders. So
yes,
and JP's name came up. Hello, JP.
Yes. So JP's with us today because he's part of the Always Punched Nazis omnibus that is on our Wheel of Destiny today. So
I love the resurgence of let's just punish the Nazi comics. It's so fun.
BMD is back with us again today. Thanks for continuing to support and join us every week, BMD. We appreciate it. He said, I've noticed a lot of crowdfund creators don't offer their comics anywhere, even months after the campaign. And that's a huge failure.
It's a huge miss.
I am a graphic design instructor at a college, and I teach my students how to use Squarespace. There's other website apps, but that's the one I use. And it took me an afternoon, literally, to set up a store with e-commerce and be up and running to sell my own products. And before that, when I was using WordPress, like I would have had to pay someone $500 to $1,000 at minimum just to go in there and set that up. So it's a huge thing. Yes, that means that, you know, you're going to get emails saying you've got an order and you've got to ship it out. So you got to be on top of it. But I get orders on my site every week for that exact reason that BMD just brought up. That, you know, people are like, oh, I bought this book. I like it. I want to go get more. And another thing, I don't know if you guys know this, but at the end of a Kickstarter campaign, during the campaign, there's a button that just says back this project. Once it's done, you can choose what that button goes to. And so you can have that button go to your store and say, hey, continue to get the rest of Mythica here or whatever. Yeah, send them all to Mythica. That's what we'll do.
There we go.
But yes, I agree with you, BFD. At least have it digitally. Yeah, totally. I mean, that's an easy way to get your book out there, get people reading it, and make a few bucks because you can charge $1 or $2.
Yeah, you don't have to break the bank, and you're not accruing unnecessary costs with shipping or printing or any of that. Just a digital issue, couple bucks, and there's a value add there. So I would push the digital absolutely once the campaign is done. You don't have to do it. Piece of cake. Yeah.
Someone asked me at school because I came into the first day of school this semester, and I was talking to my fellow instructor, and a student came up and was like, hey, I got your book at, one of the local comic shops. And the other instructor looks at me. He's like, dang, you're all over the place. How many stores are you in? I was like, I think all of them. I try to get my book in any comic shop that will let it. And most local comic shops will carry a local independent, right? They can't afford to carry every independent, but they'll generally try to support a local, especially if you have more than one issue and you've proven like that you're going to keep making more. So definitely do that. In fact, Ken says, shout out to the Comics Place in Bellingham, Washington, for carrying his book. Good job.
Well, even I know a huge proponent here in town, Time Warp Wayne, is always been a big backer of local creators and all of that. I mean, he's been Scorpio, who's another big local name who's been doing his own book for a number of years. It's always been a place of honor, like right there on the front with other creators. I know your book is up there right next to him. So you got to talk to your shop though. You can't just hide behind the keyboard. You got to get out. You gotta press the flesh.
And the other thing that you got to do, I mean, this is part of distribution, folks, is that this is what, Diamond took care of in the past, is that if you're an independent creator who has the fortune of a comic shop carrying your book, they're not going to call you up and tell you, hey, we're out of this book. It's just going to be gone. And so my student who bought the book at one of the local comic shops, he was like, yeah, I wasn't able to get this issue or this issue because they were out. And I was like, oh, that means I got to call them up and go down there and take a drive and restock them. And so for me, like, I usually do a tour of the shops about every other month and just go through. Because, I mean, they'll generally carry only a couple at a time. But I missed a couple messages here. Let's see. Jay says he misses us. I miss you too.
Miss you too, brother.
I look forward to seeing what you made in Always Punch Nazis. Let's see. Chad said the Squarespace store is a little janky, but on the back end, it's way easier to use than WordPress. Maybe so. I don't have a lot of comparison. Like, the only comparison I had was WordPress. So maybe there's another site that's less janky. So maybe in the comments, tell me what you mean by janky and how it could be improved.
Each one has its own weird like hookups.
Yeah.
I mean, 5280 Kikas ran off of WordPress. I use WordPress, and I've never really had too much of a problem. But then I know there's a lot of things on there that I don't use because I don't need it. So
yeah.
But I've never had a problem with WordPress. But they all have their weird little hiccups.
Right.
And, they want to be cool and inventive. So it's all what you're comfortable with.
Something else that, I mean, I know we're getting off on a different tangent here, but something else that I do with my Squarespace site, and most modern sites can set up like this. Some are just easier to do than others, but it has its own built-in like email marketing platform. And so when someone purchases a product on my site, it automates to send them an email 2 weeks later and say, hey, what did you think of this product? Here's a discount code for your another purchase. And if you leave a review, you'll get more of a discount, that way it's automated to continue to like try to entice them to come back. And I don't have to do anything. It's like built in now. So that's a nice feature. Yep. Says BMD says, I sometimes have a comic review get hundreds of views, but there is nowhere to buy it. Folks are missing out on money. Yes, that's what we're saying, man. I agree with you. And for those of you that are listening that have backed the Mythica campaign, some of you already know that there was a little setback because I had the heart surgery and then the rehab, and still in the cardiac rehab, but it's at the printers right now. I'm looking forward to getting the proof here anytime, but this is a trusted printer I've used many times before, so I'm looking forward to it. So we're only a few weeks behind schedule for the most part. There was also a hurricane that hit my colorist home in the Philippines. So we had a few setbacks, but you guys have been awesome about, being patient, and I appreciate and love all of you. Ken says, if your local store doesn't have a dedicated space for local creators, talk to them about making one. I agree. Most of them have it.
Most of them have it, but I mean, that's a different conversation.
Every once in a while, I'll come across a shop that just doesn't want to carry local stuff.
Yeah, and that's their choice. That it's
or indie stuff, I should say.
An added issue. I mean, I can't. Having been a shop owner, it's a difficult decision because
because you're generally you're expecting that person's, you're not going to see that person again. They're going to come in, they're like, hey, buy my comic, and then disappear and never see him again. And I actually had Hall of Justice, isn't that the name of the comic shop? The first time I went in there with my indie comic, he was hesitant because he was like, this is what happens a lot of times. Like, an indie comic creator will start a comic, people get interested and they come to me and they're like, hey, when's the next issue? And he's like, I don't know. I haven't heard from this creator in years. You know? And so
I'd like to see them too.
So you definitely got to keep a good connection, good relationship, as Lori here is saying. I feel like Sam's gonna plop right down on the keyboard and push buttons. So if it suddenly crashes, it's all his fault. All right, so should be doing. There's so many great comments. I mean, I just keep pulling them up.
And it's a valuable topic. It's a very handy thing to kind of know and further market your brand and your branding. And this, once you fund and how you continue to, because this is a business. I mean, you've got the creative side, but you've got the business side, which is a very crucial component that a lot of creatives are not good at. All right. I mean, some excel at the art side of it, but they're lacking a little bit on the business side. What makes sense? How do I file taxes? Do I pay taxes? The shipping, how do I get into shops? Things of that nature. And there's a lot of value to just learning marketing and talking to people and getting out there and just interacting. I mean, I remember and stay on top of your art, because don't get sloppy. Because I had one guy who brought in his book, and I'm just like, oh my God, this thing looks awful. I can't put this on my shelf.
Smurf, that's what indie books are, man. Like, do you remember?
They don't have to be awful. Come on.
Do you remember like the early days of indie comics that were just like, who am I thinking of? Really famous black and white indie comic creator back in like the 80s. But like some of those books were just like off the wall, like art and like what am I looking at? But that's the thing about indie. It's all over the place. There's not like this mainstream standard of art that everything has to adhere to. And I really got to say, like, I love a lot of the artists in the big community of Marvel and DC. Some of them I call friends, but there is a familiarity to all of it most of the time. And so I really cherish when I see some really cool new stuff in indie comics. So John says not having a digital option is leaving money on the table. I totally agree.
It is.
So we've had our little chat about the comic book industry, the state of it. I definitely think, to summarize again, that we're going to see a big boom in crowdfunding. So that means we need to up our game on presentation and getting people's attention, because we now are going to have to compete with some bigger companies trying to get in there and get some of that money. So that being said, we're going to take a look at the people who made it on the Wheel of Destiny today. Remember that to get on the Wheel of Destiny, you need to submit somewhere near and around the Action Line Studios page or the Matt Campbell art page, or message me directly. There are a couple that stand out enough through their social media that I will actually just remember to put them on the list myself. But if you want to be on it, definitely have to make some effort to put it on the wheel. All right. So looking at the wheel here, let me get that shared up. We've got Ice and Bone 1 and 2 by Aaron Roblowski, which we've seen in our groups many, many times. We've got Set the Hook, which is by Chad Perkins, and Always Punch Nazis Omnibus, which has got a lot of different people on it, but one of them is JP. We have one called If a Tree Falls. That's a new one. And The Four by another good friend of ours from Project Nerd, Iggy. And lastly, we have The Salvaged She-Newt, which is another one that Ken is the creator of that one, who's also with us today. So lots of cool stuff, a lot of diversity in today's selection. So are you guys ready? Are you ready?
Yeah. Do it. Let's
fucking go.
There can be only one Highlander type situation. Behold, my wheel of destiny.
Pitter patter, let's get at her.
Time to spin the wheel.
Time to spin the wheel. Let's do it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see who is going to be our first contender for the comic book showdown of Ultimate Destiny.
Dun, dun, dun.
Number 1. Right out of the gate.
Punch
Gonna
Nazis.
be Always Punch Nazis. All right. Nice. Congratulations. Take that one off the list. All right. Let's see who's second on the comic book showdown of Ultimate Destiny. Number 2. Looks like Set the Hook. Congratulations on that. And our last entry into the comic book showdown of Ultimate Destiny. Number 3. Looks like the Salvaged She-Newt. All right. So once again, so you guys know the way this goes. We look at these campaigns based solely on the presentation that's being given to us, the video, the content, and we're looking at it from the point of view of consumers, so that we learn more about how to make better pitches. That's sort of something that I focus on and specialize a lot in school. And between the two of us, we've done now 37 shows of this. We've seen all kinds. We've learned lots of stuff. And we're going to pass that info on to you guys.
Yeah, we're not here to throw shade. We're not here to make fun of you. We're not here to do any of that. If I do that, unintentional. Sometimes I may make a joke or two. But it's basically here to help you, to hopefully that you fund. And we've got what, a 90% right now rating on
as far
people
as
that have.
That we have picked that are our winner for the week to the ones that have funded. Yes, we are at like over 90% success rate.
Yeah. So
we're
not just pretty faces.
That's for sure. Thank goodness for that.
Thank God for that.
All right. Ken says, make fun of me. Lay it on me. He's ready for some tough love.
No. Tough love. There we go.
Nicolo says he's in 2 different comics on the wheel this week. Wow. That's fantastic. Staying busy, Nicolo. Congratulations. All right, guys. First one up on the list was Always Punch Nazis. So let's go ahead and set that up. Let me switch to that tab and go. Oh, sometimes it wants me to close it out first. So I got to do that. It says no good. Try again. But I've learned if I don't do it, then it doesn't give me audio. So I got to do it right. All right. So here we have Always Punch Nazis Omnibus. It says this project collects the 3 anti-Nazi anthologies that changed the face of an industry. I mean, obviously, we all know what anti-Nazi means and punching Nazis mean, but the part of change the face of an industry, I'm not really sure what industry they're referring to yet.
What
so
industry?
a little
GM.
Yeah, a little intrigued.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
So it is already on the projects we love category. It has crushed their goal of 5,000. They're at 6,118 with 111 backers. And still has 19 days to go. So congratulations to all those working on that. So let's take a look at the video in full screen. Hold on. It's a 5-minute video right out of the gate. So at some point, Smurf, this is how we're going to do it this time. Because I can see your window there on the side. I want you to throw your hand up when you've had enough, right? If it intrigues you for the full 5 minutes, this is going to be an awesome thing. But if you're like done, just throw your hand up so I can see you. And if you guys are watching in the comment section and you've had enough, and throw your hand up as well. And the reason we say that is because people, the amount of watch time on a video is generally like 30-second stops. So, we want to find where that sweet spot is for people and say, all right, this is where I tap out, and so
Yep.
that you pass that information on to the creators for their next video, right? As some valuable information. So here we go with this video.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Always Punch Nazis compendium here on Kickstarter. Thanks for looking at our page, listening to what we're offering. 2016, Silas Dixon and I created Always Punch Nazis based on the events of Charlottesville. We had Nazis marching in the street, and Silas came to me and said, let's do a anti-racism anthology, which I thought was just a spectacular idea. Always Punch Nazis was born. We got busy writing and drawing tons of stories, and this is what it became. It became something much bigger than just an anti-racism anthology. Lots of progressive causes and ideas are fleshed out in here. So if this is, if these are not your stories or you're not interested, this is not for you. This is not for Donald Trump voters. In fact, this was built around our disdain for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is everything anti-American as far as we're concerned. And these books
He's throwing his hand up, ladies and gentlemen.
Done.
He's done. He's done.
I'm done.
All right.
I can't.
Are you
I
done
can't.
because of the political aspect of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Don't disparage your own comic. All right. That is the thing. I don't give a shit about Trump. And if it's a satirical look at Nazis, then focus on that. And give us some inside art. Give us something. I appreciate the peek into the backstory, but at this point, you're trying to sell your comic, not make a political statement. And you don't want to put yourself in a corner by saying we're dead set against this. Let people read and make their own decisions based on your art and the stories, because people who may have voted for Trump could appreciate the comic or understand it. So don't immediately single out a potential group. You have to stay neutral, especially in this. Just let the product and the comic speak for itself. So in the instance of these stories are focused on this, just eliminate the whole political standing. And I know this is a time that everyone wants to stand up and be counted for what they believe in, and I agree with that, but let your work talk for you. Let that do it. Otherwise, you're just going to alienate people and they're not going to want to buy the book.
Right.
And I don't even know what it looks like inside. And that's where we should have, when he said what it was, he should have cut to the inside art and started flashing that up. The solo camera act.
So
No,
I do feel like I'm going to have to agree with you on this one, even though like I've got my own political opinions, and
yes.
I might be, I'd still agree with you that like, there are people who might still very well get a kick out of this book if it's written well, if it's good art, even though they might not have the same political beliefs. So I feel like prefacing on that for too long and not just giving people like, the fun of it. I mean, that's like a good example of that is how a lot of people can go enjoy a comedian who's talking about politics.
Mm-hmm.
And yet get a good laugh, enjoy it, and yet not have one.
Lewis Black, who is on the Daily Show, who has done stand-up, who I have paid money to go see at Vegas and in Colorado and other comedy shops, completely political, roasts pundits, and is an amazing comedian that makes you think and looks at it in a fun way. Don't despair. If you're not excited about your book, no one else is going to be. So be excited. Talk about how awesome this is. We take shots. We punch Nazis, and here we go. Just get to the point. You're burying the lead.
Right. I mean,
get to it.
That's the other thing too. Is that like I feel like even people that have a that voted that way still might be interested in punching Nazis, like it's still be an entertaining book. So I'm on board with you. What do you guys think in the chat that are listening, or if you're listening to this later, comment below. Like, what are your thoughts on leaning this heavily into the political side of it before getting to the art. I think that's the big key that Smurf's saying, is that, like, you can throw that stuff in, but like, if just completely that stuff, no art. If this wasn't a political book and we just had someone talking about their book without showing us any art for the first, we were at 1 minute and 10 seconds, we would be saying the same thing to them, regardless of if it was a political topic, right?
Well, and we've had these openings before, and the average attention span of a person, 3 to 5 seconds. And if the 3 to 5 seconds is you basically just setting it up with nothing to grab them, no audio or no music, no art, no flashy, they're moving on. So
thing is, and Ben says, he's excited. It's full of anti-Trump shit. It did get to the point. If you don't like the point, it's not for you. Well, that's okay. Let's see what else this tells us. I want to see some of the art. So let's see if we get to some of that. So let me go back to that view there. And let's see. First, I'm going to jump through and see if there's him showing some of the art in the book.
Okay,
that's pretty cool.
Which isn't bad. I mean, I'm sure he's got a digital version, so he could cut from this and just go to the images. I mean, he's a striking man. He's got fans, I'm sure, but I want to see the art. I don't want to see him talking about it. So what do we see pages as we go down?
All right,
maybe.
All right, so I'm going to take a look. Yeah, we're taking a look here. It says. First part says everybody knows who the Nazis are. More so, if you saw a Nazi, you want to punch the Nazi. Always punch Nazis is the next best thing to actually punching a Nazi. I like that opening line. That's cool.
That's fun. It's a good hook.
Then we've got 3 more paragraphs of about the stuff. Satirical anthology tells the stories inspired by an evil that defeated World War II continues to fester today. Skipping forward some more. So then we have the people that are on it, and new content alert. Farewell APN. This omnibus will also include a brand new story from APN veteran Jay Huber, artist Jay Peterance, colorist and letterer Seb Valencia. I don't know what APN is. Am I missing something?
I don't know what it is either, to be honest with you.
Okay,
maybe
Jay's with us. Maybe you could tell us. It's AP. I think it's Always Punch Nazis. Now that.
Okay.
Sorry. So here we've got a look at some of that in progress work from Jay Peterance. Always love looking at like early sketches. Then we've got some cool looking interior art, and then we've got some art from another book in the anthology, another story. Yes. And so this is something I like to see, page selections from the omnibus, right? So I think this stuff might have been stronger. Like if you look over here on the right, you can see I'm like down fairly deep. I would have loved to seen some of this. Like, look at that shot.
That's great.
That is an action-packed, cool-looking shot with like this Thor Viking coming down, slamming on a Nazi tank. That would have been such a great.
See, that would have been a perfect way to open it. Like, you don't like Nazis, and then cut to that, some thunder and lightning, and you're off to the races. And you can still talk, but you have something to keep refreshing and changing. And I think that would be a great.
So I do feel like we've looked at a lot of videos and over the show the last 37 episodes or so, and like I said, whether or not the topic of this doesn't really matter. It's about getting people's attention quickly. This comic campaign is doing really well. They've already funded, and
they've already hit
stretch goals, and so there's obviously people out there who are backing this just because of the topic, and they're passionate about it, and I'm cool with that too. Like that's honestly, I might back it myself because I have some of those same passions, but I'm looking at this as a point of view of just a comic consumer, like we look at all of our shows, or all of our campaigns on this show. It's for me, it's much more exciting to set the tone in the video with some of these awesome images that you've got here. Like that's another one right here.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would get down this far. And I mean, this is some great work. I mean, this is fun. So
yeah, I like the look of this one. It's got like a really dark, almost like Magnolia vibe a little bit. Mm-hmm. Chad says Thor also hates Nazis. I agree. He probably does. All right.
See,
so
this should be in the video for 5 minutes. Yeah, the digital still should have that nice little voiceover.
So here's my thought on this. Obviously, it's doing well. Obviously, there's still a ton of people that are buying this. Like I said earlier, because of the way it was presented. Is like, hey, if you like this, if you voted this way, you like this thing, then you're probably going to like this, and it supports that. And so obviously, there's over 100 people. What we're saying is that you might get even more people by adding some of this other stuff in. Not that what you did was bad, right? Like, I think it's working obviously for you, right? These are just ways that maybe can be improved. That's all that we're saying.
How far on their stretch goals?
Julie says, I think on a Kickstarter, you need to try to appeal to odd audiences, whether the platforms where you can advertise to specific political party like Blue Sky. Huh. There you go. What was the question?
How far are they along on their stretch goals?
Let me see if I can find it. It is sometimes they put it at the top. Might have to go back to the bottom. Not really sure. All right. There it is. Stretch goals. Jump. So it says at 6,000 they get a gold foil embossed cover logo, which I think they hit already. And it's 6,500 ribbon bookmarks, 7,000 fuck off red hat sticker.
Nice.
Yeah. And then special 7,500 special Always Punch Nazis postcard to be mailed to the White House or whoever. And then they've got some others. Looks like they're ready to have more if they hit into the 800 or 8,000, 8,500. I like that they're like, we have more, hopefully.
Yep. So I had an interesting question posed to me last week after we did our show by a comic creator, and he's working on his campaign. And his question was stretch goals versus incentive
bonuses.
Tiers. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, if I do that, so if you give me $20, you get this. And I was like, you know what? That's a very good question. And I didn't have, and I said, it comes down to like what makes financial sense for you. The stretch goals are always fun. But there's always that one whale out there that wants to get something for his money. So I push them that, you should develop the different packages that, these are available, the early bird stuff. But I always do like the stretch goals in addition to the tiers, but it has to make financial sense for you, because at the end of the day, when this funds, you've got to take care of it. So I do like these stretch goals though. And they are fun. They're easy to do. And that's what made me think about that.
Speaking of goals, one of the things we also talk about on this show is the whale. They're big tiers and how like one person can bring up your goal right away. And their big two here, we got a $100 level signed book plate edition, limited to 100 copies of book plates, and all the creators will sign it. There's 5 of those already been back, so that's $500. That's great. And then the big whale is wholesale. I think it's for wholesale. I think it's for like retailers or wholesalers. It says 10 copies of the omnibus for half price, all signed by creators. Right. So there's 2 of those.
That's cool. That I like. That's again what we've been talking about as far as distribution and all that. That's a beautiful incentive right there.
Now, here's the thing. You got some great artist talent on here, right? The artists that we've seen on these samples are fantastic, right? We have seen what we call whale rewards go. Our biggest one we've ever seen was 10,000. And that invited people to come to a Comic-Con with them, have a hotel room, the whole works, right? That was the most excessive one we've ever seen. And I don't think anybody got it, but it was still awesome that was in there. I'm saying, I think you could go farther with this. I think for, like $1,000 or something, you could have a picture drawn from one of these amazing artists punching a Nazi or punching someone else that you might want to punch, right?
Yep.
Illustrated by that artist, and I guarantee you, if there's this many people that are passionate about this book, there's probably someone who'd be like, I would love to have an illustration of me punching out so-and-so. And you could easily put that at like $1,000 or more.
Yep. Totally worth it. Totally worth it. All right. Well, that's interesting.
So there we have it.
Congratulations. I got funded, and I'm curious to see if they hit stretch goals and all of that. So, no, well done.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, they still have 19 days, so I think they're going to
they should be fine.
Well. So that brings us to number 2.
Set the hook.
Let me switch to that tab. There we go. Let's maybe switch to this view here. Set the Hook number 2, a supernatural horror noir comic. Welcome back to Hell's Aquarium. This one said created by Chad Perkins. They have a $1,500 goal, and they're well on their way. They're at 600 with 28 days to go. Lori, I think, worked on this. She's here with us today as well. So let's see what the video tells us on this one. This one's 49 seconds.
Now we are ready to sail for the horn. Way rolling go. The boots and our cold boys are all in the pond. To be rollicking Randy Sandy, heave upon a weave away. Way rolling go. The angels are moored and the cables are stored. To be rollicking Randy.
Okay.
What were your thoughts on that one, sir?
I don't know anything. All I only know is they like to fish. Then after fishing, they go dancing. That's what I got from that. And I don't know what back issue meant though. That left me with a question of like, what are they? Is that because they closed out with back issue, or I don't know, is back issue available, or because if you go all the way to the end,
let's
or
see.
did I just misread that?
No, it says back. It's saying back as in back it today, like back it as a backer.
Yeah, but I don't back issue.
You
Back
got
issue.
it, man.
Yeah, like I'm thinking like back issues because the comic nerd in me all immediately goes, okay, back issues, just like a checklist in my mind. That's not going for groceries. That's comic books. So I think the verbiage on that needed to be changed, but I don't know what any of this is about. All I know is we go fishing, we dance. Ah,
yes,
we dance.
And Ken says, "Hey, what's wrong with post fishing dancing?" I kind of got to agree with Ken on that one.
I'm not arguing it. I just don't know what else you do after that.
So, Out of Touch one does say, "What's this comic about?" So, that's something we've talked about, on the show of making a video. If first of all, we've talked about how there are some campaigns that can have a successful campaign without a video, but the vast majority that are successful do have a video. So then the next thing is, well, what do you put in that video? And the very first thing, because you only have for the most people, and you can see the retention if you are the creator, and you can look at it on the back end, but most people are only watching for somewhere around 15 to 30 seconds unless it's really engaging. So right out of the gate, you want to like be telling them the tone, which I think this video does a good job of, like the shanty and the whatnot. Kind of, I'm hoping that's the tone of the book. And then the next thing is the who, what, when, why, and where. Like, what am I getting? Is it an issue? Is it a book? Is it an omnibus? And what's the book about? That kind of thing. Is it going to be violent? What's the genre? Is it going to be funny? Is it going to be violent? And so at this point, I don't really know yet. It was fun to watch, but I don't really know
a good
a whole lot.
sea shanty. I mean, come on, that was fun.
Right. Now, I will say this again. I said this last week. I think it was last week. You guys remember we had Drumsticks of Doom on here, and his video was from Dio. I always say that wrong. Dio. And immediately, as soon as the show was over, I had a warning from YouTube saying, "Hey, this is copyrighted material," and I had to mute that section out. My feeling is that this is also going to be a copyrighted song. I know
that was going to be my question. If this was, because it didn't like trigger any memories in my head, but that doesn't mean anything. But I mean, if it's an original song, I mean, I would also be giving the person that did this credit. So let's scroll down and see.
Yeah. Honestly, guys, I mean, I had a lot of friends in the music industry. I would want to give, even as a small band that did it, I definitely want to be giving credit to, even if you did like, especially like say last week when we had Dio, like I'd definitely be putting that at the end, like, hey, this music was by, just so that if you can at least say I tried to give them credit, Yep. But so let's see. Chad's saying it's an original from CJ Grimm, a buddy of mine. Oh, sweet. So
is that
awesome.
in there though? Yeah, is that listed in there?
I would love to maybe somewhere down here he says that. Now here's another thing. I don't know what arrangement you have with CJ, but years ago when I launched a couple of my first issues of Mythica on Kickstarter, a good buddy of mine who did all the lettering, his name is McLean McGuire, and he was in some very successful bands, and he and his drummer like put together a Mythica theme song for me. And I own it, and I was able to like sell that on the website just like as a download. And so like it became the music that was synonymous, with the campaign. And I used it for like 3 different videos. So if you don't have it already, I haven't checked the comments yet. Maybe that's an opportunity as well to say, hey, you can get this music and listen to it while you watch your book.
That's a perfect incentive. Absolutely.
All right. So back to the story. We had the video. It kind of set the tone. Didn't really tell us a whole lot. A couple people were asking, what's this about? So now we have this story section. So let's see what it tells us. It says, Otis Seibert is on a lifelong quest to kill the demonic Pike that murdered his father. Now he's one step closer after his friend Ginger reveals she's got a lead on finding his scally hellfish. Unfortunately, it takes him back to his old stomping ground as a fisherman. The slippery tentacle, filled with humans and fish playmates abound. Set the Hook 2 is a 24-page full-color comic showing how far someone will go to avenge a loved one, even if it means fishing for the rest of their life. All right, guys, that's your hook.
That's the tagline right there.
So it's not too far down the list. It's within, like 4 sentences, but this is basically everything that you need. It tells us what I'm getting. So this is what you would want in like the first 30 seconds of your video, in my opinion. It tells me what I'm getting, a 24-page full color comic. And then it says it's about how far will someone go to avenge a loved one? The reason that you want that plain stuff in there right away is that I, as a consumer, can relate to avenging a loved one I don't need to know any of the names, any of the characters. This could be sci-fi, this could be a Western, but I can relate to that. So now you've already tugged at a heartstring, right? I'm emotionally invested a little bit. Now you can get into more details about, this is the character and why the character is cool, and this is his name, and because all this stuff is super cool,
Yeah.
We didn't get a lot. So I 100% think that this is a great tagline right here.
No, that should be in the video. That absolutely, or at least right underneath it.
So it says the book's 100% complete, and
Nice.
It says we got a couple of credibility sources. Always like seeing that. So basically, quotes from other people. Fred Schwartz from Fisticuffs / and Hardbody says, "This was glorious. I smiled all throughout. Part of me wishes it was live action, but the rest of me knows it would be pure nightmare fuel." All right. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I do like the art. It's a very kind of fun, Archie Turtles kind of vibe to it. I like the artwork. I like the colors. It's very, very well put together.
A couple of notes from Chad, who is the creator and is watching, said thanks for notes going forward. He said the music has been bought from the creator, and it's a tier that you can get. That is great.
That's perfect.
That. Yep. And then we've got the art. So I have to make an assumption, looking at the art, that it's like a cross between like violent but yet kind of lighthearted, because the art looks sort of playful. And so like it could still be sexy or violent, but it still has that like playful tone, so it never gets super dark. And that's kind of what I'm getting just from the images here.
Definitely Scott Pilgrim. Which I like. Nice.
And that's something else that you can do in your video, is kind of helps people set the tone. Like, my comic can get pretty violent and dark sometimes. So I want to make sure people know that what they're getting into, and they don't go, "Oh my God, there's nudity in this book, and I wasn't ready for that."
Movies.
So, yes, Lori says lighthearted violence. Yes, please. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it. Then we got some covers by Valor and colored by Quinn, who is another person I saw on Facebook showcasing this book. So your team's doing a good job, like spreading the word. And then we've got some other covers, some sexy covers, and even a cosplay cover of the Ginger. Right. And then we've got add-on sections. We got prints and bookmarks and so on and so forth. Right. Digital bundles. Over here on the rewards, very first thing out of the gate is a digital landing main cover. So I assume that's the whole book with that main cover. And then a physical early bird. And then physical. So, and then we have a Set the Hook digital deluxe. I feel like a little description. Maybe this is down here somewhere in the tiers. Oh, here it is. Digital deluxe bundle includes 1 and 2, the script for number 2, a cover gallery, and an MP3 of, I assume, that music we just listened to.
That's got to be
all that for $10. That's a great deal.
That's a great deal. That is awesome.
Right? I would recommend, Chad, that you over here on the section where it is, it has a list of items included, because Kickstarter makes you like turn everything into items now. But underneath of it, there's still a place which you can have a description. And I would put the description in there, because they may not have scrolled all the way down here to look at this. And so, because the digital is just like right at the very top, they might see that and go, "Yep, that I can afford digital. What do I get?" And it's got a picture here, but I can't read it too well because it's a little small. So might have that. But honestly, that's a great amount of stuff for $10. I think you did a good job on that.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got a bunch of different variant covers. I like how most of the variant covers are all the same price. We've talked about that before, how sometimes price will go up for an unknown reason. And then going down, let's see what they have for the whales. I mean, you'd think there would be a whale in a book like this,
I would
right?
think. Do I get a date with the chick? All right, sign me up.
It's right where Smurf went to. Like, I want to go on a date with the ginger girl.
I'll go on a date. I want to go dancing after we do some fishing. You can tell me a sea shanty.
All right. Looks like their whale stops at $150. It says 2 original inked characters of Ginger. It says 2 original inked characters, Ginger, not safe for work. I assume, I don't know if these are already drawn and you're just purchasing these 2 that are here. I think so, because they're already covered up. So these are drawings that you get, original art. For $120, you get this Ginger original sketch color by Quinn.
Nice.
And so, again, there's a lot of different ways to be creative. Like if this is an ongoing series that you plan on making a 3rd issue for, you could offer being in the book or being a character that gets killed off in the book. That's always something that people like to do on my book, is get killed off in my stories. But
Right here, just kill me. I don't have to say a damn thing. Just put me in there and squash me like a bug.
But yeah, like I said, if you have some tier that's $1,000 and says, okay, you get every single book printed, you get every single book digital, you get all the variant covers and some sort of, customized thing, like a customized sketch, or you get to be in the book or something, you can charge quite a bit for that. And people do it.
There's a value there. There is a value. That's why they're here.
Yeah, I've had people back my campaigns over $1,000 from one person. And it surprised the shit out of me every time. I'm like, okay, someone actually took this. But they're not gonna if you don't make one, if you don't offer one. Right?
Gotta scratch the ticket to win.
Yep. So honestly, this is a pretty solid campaign. You've got 162 backed other campaigns, which shows that you're supporting the comic community. We always like to see that. And you still got a month to go.
Yeah.
So,
and I would change this verbiage. Back issue 2. Back this project. I would
support issue 2 or
support issue 2. I mean, back this project.
That one threw you off a little bit.
Yeah. Back the hook, or hey, help set the hook. There's different ways that I would just change that, because back issue 2.
Us comic collectors have a like back issue stuck in our
the
head.
vernacular. Yeah, just
yes.
it just screws with my head. Maybe, I don't know. I'm the only one, but it just didn't. No, back issue 2. What about back issues? No, just change it.
All right. So that's about to bring us to the 3rd and final entry, which is
the Savage Sea-Nuts.
Blew me back there. Also, before we get there, if you aren't already, be sure and like and follow and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're trying to get to 1,000 backers, and we're trucking right along. If you're interested in supporting this show, you can also become a backer on Patreon for $5 a month and get these videos sent directly to your inbox, as well as get digital copies of these independent books sent to your inbox. So generally what I do is we pick someone to support every week. A lot of times, since we're doing so many, I do support a lot of digital versions, and then I share those on the to the backers on Patreon, as well as sneak peek look at what's going on with my book Mythica, and other tips on making comics. So you can support it there. Okay. All right, let's take a look at number 3. Again, it says no more sharing that tab. Close that tab and do it again. It's being very particular today. That's okay.
That's okay.
I'm on top of it.
We love you just the same.
All right, here it is. The salvaged She-Newt number
Salvaged
9.
or savage?
Salvaged, not
Salvaged.
savage. Salvaged. She has been salvaged from
She has
something.
been salvaged. She has been saved.
It says the adventures of the pink protagonist, copyright symbol, continue into the next installment of the compliment receiving series. The compliment receiving series.
Compliments.
I like that. They had a low goal of $500, and they've hit that goal. They're at $579 with 19 days to go. Okay, so this is the 9th issue, and so you've already made several issues. Ken's with us today, so congratulations on making 9 issues of this. This one does not have a video. Now, again, do you need a video to succeed? No. Do most campaigns that succeed have a video? Yes. So let that, sink in and figure out for yourself. The ones that do tend to succeed without a video already have a huge backing. Right? But doesn't mean you can't. Doesn't mean you can't. So let's see what this tells us. Salvage She-Newt was created during a drawing challenge years ago. The challenge, create the most humorous and weakest parody of an existing comic book character. I chose to poke fun at Eric Larson's She-Dragon character using the most pathetic dragon-looking creature I could think of, a salamander, and She-Newt was born. All right, sounds interesting. Years later, when I invited to participate in a local Comic-Con, I dusted off the character and drew her first issue. That hobby comic in all its amateur glory led to this. I'm going to skip forward a little bit. Comic is based in Bellingham, Washington. All right, so what I'm looking for, the reason I'm scrolling down is I'm trying to find what this issue is about. Something we've talked about on this show is that, especially with Kickstarter, because for a lot of people, this is the first time they're looking at your book, right? So there's an apprehension when you see number 9 that, oh shit, I gotta go look and buy 9 books in order to understand what's going on. So the best thing that you can do is pitch this 9th issue with its own flair. Like, why is this issue alone exciting and worth picking up? And then once you pick it up, you'll want to read the other issues. You want to go back and read some more, right? Yep. Now it does. Go ahead if you're going to say.
Well, and yeah, and we're kind of what we call burying the lead. Says, I mean, I like the history and all of the details, but also can what's the story? What's this issue about? And we're continuing, so no one likes to come into the middle of a story. So am I lost? Am I what's what?
Right. So under features, it says the Salvage She-Newt issue 9 features the content you'd expect from the title.
Okay.
I'm looking. I was looking if there was something in the title that I missed. It's called the Salvage She-Newt. Okay. From pinups to the main story, profiles, letter pages, and a sketchbook section, everything you expect from a toy robot comics title is here. But wait, there's more. The Salvage She-Newt also sets things in motion for issues 10, anticipated crossover. So I'm looking for what is this story about. I still don't know what She-Newt does or what it's about. I am very grateful to see that it's 24-page superhero comedy. So I know like what I'm getting and what kind of genre it is. That's super helpful. Yeah,
but that's a long way to go to get that. That should be up higher.
We're scrolling down here. For new readers, a recap page is included to catch you up on the story from previous issues. That's also good, but I'm still looking for what's this story about right now. I need to be hooked. So yes, Ken, that's what we're saying is, and it includes some sort of issue summary, right? We've said this before on the show. I teach this day in, day out of my classes that every single story is about some character or group of characters trying to achieve or do something, and something stands in their way. And so we're left with, will they or won't they succeed in their goal? It could even be the story of the villain doing that and the hero stands in their way. Will the villain succeed, like Thanos, right? So if you can get that information out quickly, then you can get into like the details of like, you know, the backstory of their character or their powers or something like that.
Yeah, because I mean, leaving it to our imagination I'm like, so is she going shopping? I mean, my imagination went like, is she going to the Dairy Queen? I mean, I'd have a sea shanty stuck in my head right now. So my imagination is a little like, is she? That's
still from the last one.
I'm still inflected by that one. So that's lapping over into this. So all the things that I am expecting right now may not be anything that this book is about. So just even if it's your tag that, you know, we emphasize there, but at least the small kind of in this issue and then lead into all of the rest of the perks. Because right now, I mean, we're almost halfway down the page on this, and we still don't know what to expect. I mean, you're successful, you're doing great.
I think right here I found the closest we've seen so far of like what this is about. Yeah. So I'm going to read it real quick. It says, in recent issues, Shinu arrived from Bellingham, Washington to find that she couldn't help but stumble into other members of the metahuman community. As such, she found herself involved in one conflict after another. Though she managed to defeat multiple ne'er-do-wells, that's a hard thing to say, things finally took a toll. After displaying a new unexpected ability, Newt passed out cold and her amphibious companions disappeared. Now we wait to see if our hero recovers and how she would deal with the loss of her sidekick. So this is the closest thing that we have to like what's going on in the story. Basically, it's a superhero fighting ne'er-do-wells, which is not a term I've ever heard of, but it's interesting. And so, she also has obviously some abilities and whatnot. And so she's playing the hero role. And she had a sidekick, apparently, because it says the loss of her sidekick.
And they are kaput.
Right. And so that gives me a little indication of like, okay, this is a superhero type of comic. And obviously in the beginning, you talk about it kind of being based off Savage Sea Dragon or Savage.
No, you're right. You're correct. Savage Sea Dragon.
And so that might have given some indication that it was from that. But I think this kind of information up at the top, we call that "Don't bury the lead," is super important. So that right away we know how many pages am I getting? What kind of book is this? Is it superhero? Is it campy? Is it horror? What am I getting? And so I would say definitely move that up.
Because you're at issue 9, so obviously you have a fan base, you have these people that are invested in the story, but and you're holding on to the retention, but you also want new readers. So taking for granted that all of these people do know the story, we understand. But it's getting those other readers. You want to continue to build your fan base. So that is why we emphasize getting that information to the top. Get that information out there. You're not short of fans, but we always can use more because people fall off, people lose touch, even Matt will tell you, people that were there before aren't backing it now and have no clue that, he is where he is with issue numbers because they're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So it's just something you want to continually refresh your readership. So that is the best way to do it that I've seen and have experienced in my experience.
Right. And I was just looking at like your previous campaigns, your numbers tend to be sort of staying in the same neighborhood of backers when I looked at your other campaigns for this, which means that you're getting return people. That's great. Right. But we also want to make that number grow. And to make it grow, you always have to create your campaign towards the people that have never seen it before. Right. The people that know about it like they're going to scroll down and start looking for the rewards usually right away, and they're going to just look for, you know, what's going on in this particular issue. But you want to start your campaign every single time as if you're showing it to somebody for the first time, and that's how you get new backers, new viewers, right? And remember, we're trying to share this stuff because the indie comics community is only going to grow, and Kickstarter, the people on Kickstarter, the amount of people is going to grow. And so we got to compete. We got to do the best we can to get our product out there. And that's what we're trying to do, trying to help people do the best they can. So let's look at the rewards real quick before we close it out. We've got a digital reward, $5. That's great.
Perfect.
Then we jump into number 8, or excuse me, the standard print for $8. I stumbled over my words there. She-Newt Mouse Edition. Okay. Issue 9 and 3D glasses. What I'm looking for here that I don't see yet, it might be in here and I'm just missed over it, is because this is issue 9.
Yep.
Do you have a reward that is digital that's all the previous issues, including this one? Like a digital deluxe. So, because if so, I mean, that's going to be intriguing to someone who, when people don't know, like they're testing the waters of a new campaign, they're going to likely go digital, right? Because they want to see, like, you know, what they're going to get out of it. And so for a few dollars more, if they can get all of them, then why not, right?
And I would even like do a teaser, like the first issue. You've already made your money on it. That should have its own like opportunity to get. So if you've hooked a new person that wants to read, hey, this looks great. I want to start from the beginning. At least have issue 1, the previous issue, and this issue available in the format. If you can't do all of them,
right,
that would be my next. Evidently, last issue, everything happened. Everybody died. Oh my god!
Yeah.
And now,
now you can't get it.
I want to see that.
So,
I want to see the scrap.
So yeah, Ken, he says, I received harsh feedback about not having everything else available as digital. It's not too late. You can add on.
You can still add it.
You can add on rewards. You just can't change the reward if someone's already backed it. Once someone has backed it, then it's locked in. But you can absolutely add a new reward right now, and you've got, you know. And you can also change anything on your campaign. Like right now, we talked about moving the story stuff up. You could go down and fix that today.
Yeah,
and
you can do that while we're talking to you right now.
We've had that happen before.
We have.
BMD says, I normally do go digital for at least the first few issues before I think about physicals. That's a good bit of feedback. I agree. A lot of people do that. They want to figure it out.
Well, I mean, even like the staples. I mean, DC, Marvel. I'm more digital now than I ever have been, and if I like it, I'll go buy a physical copy. But space is at a premium these days. I'm running out, man. Statue or more, another comic book box.
Right.
Those statues are pretty.
Right. JP says he's looking for indie cover artwork. So a lot of campaigns are having a lot of success by getting guest cover artists. I think the last campaign that we looked at had several of those. And so that will definitely bring in more people, especially if you bring in somebody that already has a big following. They're going to bring you more backers. So if you can get your campaign to make a little extra money on top of paying for the book and paying for shipping, a good investment is to take some of that money and hire out, you know, a cover artist that has a following.
Yep.
Says out of touch one says, I look up reviews and then I buy physical copies. And then, unless it's 2002 Masters Universe, then I'd find and conquer.
No, I like it.
All right, guys. That brings us to the final part of our show where we decide which one we're going to back this week. It's a tough one, but take a moment. I need to try to get my cat out of the way so I can write. Get down all the way down. There you go, buddy. we've got, again, as a reminder, we've got Always Punch Nazis Omnibus. We've got Set the Hook #2, a supernatural horror noir comic, and the Salvage She-Newt. So, which one are we going to back?
Good question. Tough.
And there have been times in the past where we did not agree, and we had to go back to the Wheel of Destiny and let Destiny decide. It'll be curious to see if that's what happens today. He's thinking.
I am.
We should put our Jeopardy's music on, right? So while we're waiting, you guys in the audience who are following along, and by the way, thank you for everybody that's been following along today. We've had a tremendous turnout. Let us know in the comments which one you think that you would back based on the pitches that we saw today. All right. I'm going to turn off that message. I'm going to get my beautiful drum roll music ready. Are you ready, sir?
I
am. All right. Drum roll, please. All right. Congratulations to Set the Hook and Chad and Lori and everyone else that was involved. It looked like there's a lot of people involved. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to go back some of these others. It just means that's the one that we chose today based on the pitch. I chose this one because I felt like it was the most complete pitch from top to bottom. It did have a video. The video was lacking a little bit about what it was, but it still set the tone.
it didn't veer too far from what we saw versus what was further down in the body. So absolutely.
Yeah. And then right away, right after we drop into the next part, it jumped right into the story. This is a 24-page book about someone who's avenging a loved one. And so it spelled it out pretty quickly because people have short attention spans. They want to get to that stuff quickly. Right.
Yep.
So hopefully all of you guys found this helpful. Again, make sure and you subscribe to the channel and follow on Facebook at Action Line Studios or at Matt Campbell Art. You can get my book and support this show and, keep the lights on here by going to actionlinestudios.com and buying some stuff, right? Or go to Patreon/Actionline Studios and become a Patreon member. And Smurf, how can they support you and keep you, from starving to death?
Go and hit us up. We are on Facebook, and we have our own website, 5280geek.com, 5280geek on the Facebook, Instagram, 5280geek. We also have a podcast. This week's episode is already up, and it's available on all major podcasting platforms under Weekend Geek Updates, or, yes, you guessed it, 5280geek. So give us a like, give us a share, and just keep up with us. There's a bunch of different things that we do. So just support us. Just like us. Just share. Sharing is
all
caring.
right. Yes, exactly. All right. On that bombshell.
And on that bombshell, we shall say goodbye. But in the meantime, run fast, laugh hard, and always be kind. And good night.